Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Test Those Breasts podcast. I am your host, Jamie Vaughn. I'm a retired teacher of 20 years and a breast cancer thriver turned staunch, unapologetic, loud supporter and advocate for others, bringing education and awareness through a myriad of medical experts, therapists, caregivers, and other survivors. A breast cancer diagnosis is incredibly overwhelming with the mounds of information out there, especially on Dr. Google. I get it. I'm not a doctor, and I know how important it is to uncover accurate information, which is my ongoing mission through my nonprofit. The podcast includes personal stories and opinions from breast cancer survivors and professional physicians, providing the most up-to-date information at the time of recording. Evidence, research, and practices are always changing, so please check the date of the recording and always refer to your medical professionals for the most up-to-date information. I hope you find this podcast a source of inspiration and support from my guests. Their contact information is in the show notes, so please feel free to reach out to them. We have an enormous breast cancer community ready to support you in so many ways. Now let's listen to the next episode of Test Those Breasts.
Hello, friends. Before we begin, I want to let you know that you may notice some background noise on my audio in this episode. While we weren't able to fully remove it, the conversation is so important and powerful that we didn't want to delay sharing it with you. Thank you for your understanding.
Well, welcome back, friends, to this episode of Test Those Breasts. I am your host, Jamie Vaughn, and today I am super thrilled to have one of my guests back on my show, Zainab So. And I interviewed Zainab way back in episode 15. I just released episode 105, so that can kind of give you an idea of how long ago that was. And I am so thrilled to have her back. Zainab is a breast cancer survivor, side effects slayer, 3 times author, and founder of Melanin Breast Cancer Alliance Incorporated, which is a nonprofit committed to providing essential grants to newly diagnosed patients in the U.S. and West Africa. Breast cancer has touched 3 generations in her family, and her daughters were the inspiration for writing the books that matter. Zainab wholeheartedly believes that educating younger women is the key to lowering risk and deaths associated with the disease. She writes through lived truths, and her testament of resilience is a source of hope, empowerment, and education for other survivors. So impressive. Zainab, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my friend?
I am well. Thank you Thank you for having me back, Jamie. I'm excited.
Me too. And you look fabulous. You look very healthy. I love your hair, your whole vibe. And, we have been in touch ever since I started this podcast. We met each other online, I think.
Yes.
Obviously online, but, and we interviewed about your first book. We talked about your diagnosis, and you have really done some more amazing things for the breast cancer community. And you have such, a reason behind this. And I really love the fact that you are doing this for your daughters, but also for younger folks, because as we know, younger women and even men, but younger women in particular are getting diagnosed younger and younger. And so you and I actually have a lot in common. Part of my audience that I really want to listen to this podcast are, number 1, people who've never been diagnosed, and number 2, younger women, because there's this myth out there that this is an old lady disease, and it's just not. So I appreciate the work that you do. I want to take our audience back. I will go ahead and put the other episode in the show notes, but I want to take our audience into your diagnosis. How on earth did you find your breast cancer? Tell us all the things that are important.
Well, first, my mother was diagnosed when I was 38 years old, and I was too young for a mammogram. They told me that she didn't carry the BRCA gene, so therefore I started self breast exams. This became a morning ritual for me, every day in the shower. We didn't have to do it every day, but I did it every single day, not just the first of the month. And I did it, and that's where I found my 1.8 centimeter lump on the lower quadrant of my right breast.
So this is not a typical thing for people to do. Like they don't, I don't even remember always doing breast exams in the shower. It was never, I mean, I thought about it, but it's not something I ever did. But you really took that and made sure that you did that every day. And
Yeah.
that lump would not have been found had you not been doing that, especially diligently and as small as it was, right?
Right. Yeah. It was just, it became habitual for me, just doing it in the mirror. I probably would have forgotten, but in the shower is natural. I'm already washing up. So I'm just, feeling everywhere.
Right.
I probably
Right.
wasn't even doing them right, but I found it.
Well, that's what I do want to talk to you about because come to find out I wasn't doing them right. There is a whole thing of how you should do breast exams, even up into your neck, into your armpits, because we have lymph nodes where I didn't even know what lymph nodes were. I mean, at this young age, how many people know that, where to actually do the breast exam, below the breast, underneath, it just goes all the way around. How old were you?
I was 38.
Okay, 38 years old. Okay, so you find this lump, you go to the doctor. What happened then?
Well, at the time, I was getting a prophylactic hysterectomy. And I told my doctor I was scheduled for surgery. He said after surgery, I would get you a script to go and get your mammogram done. So we did that, and that's when they told me that they saw something suspicious. Because I had dense breasts, they scheduled me for further scanning, and that's when they told me that it was indeed stage 1 invasive ductal carcinoma.
Okay.
And it was estrogen receptor positive.
Okay.
My surgery determined that.
So you hear those words. What's going through your mind?
My first thing was I was going to die. My mother and grandmother both had the same exact type of breast cancer that I had, and both of them had passed away. So immediately I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, that makes total sense that you would think that. What stage were they?
Well, they both were stage 1, just like me, but theirs came back metastatic. Yeah.
Okay. So it would totally make sense that you would feel that way after knowing all of that. And I know that these kinds of diagnoses and feeling that way can get people into sort of a spiral. Is that something that happened to you, or how did you handle that with your family? How did that all look in your world?
Well, I have 2 daughters and 2 sisters and nieces. They're all in that same age bracket. So I had to be strong for them. They're all in that 40 and under. They were in their 30s to 40s. And when I was diagnosed, obviously at 49. And I had to be strong for them. I kind of suppressed it and tried to get to a positive mindset as quickly as possible. I went through the whole emotions of being scared, being mad, being all that, but I didn't stay there.
Okay. Yeah. So you move forward and you're like, I need to write a book. And you have Heir to Breast Cancer. And we talked about this on the last podcast. Can you give us a little synopsis about that? It's a great book.
Well, the title Heir to Breast Cancer is because, like I mentioned, I had a family history, and the meaning of being an heir is having something passed on to you. So it only made sense that, I was an heir to breast cancer. I felt like it was something that I had inherited and had been passed on to me.
Okay. And so when people get that book, because I want to put that in the show notes because people do need to read that book for sure. What can they expect in that book?
They can expect it's a sort of guide for someone newly diagnosed. It takes you from being diagnosed, all my thoughts and emotions, to every step from me going to getting my breast removed, the post-operative complications, the expanders, and that whole process, and everything else that came with it, the side effects from the aromatase inhibitors, and all of that, everything that I went through. And it also gives a course on just the different types of breast cancers, the different types of treatments. It has a glossary, it has people you can turn to, different organizations listed in the back. It offers everything for someone newly diagnosed or a caregiver.
Have you gotten a pretty good reception about that? Have you gotten messages from people? What kind of things do they say about it?
I did. They told me that my book got them through their journey, how empowering it was, how I inspired them. Plus, I sold a lot of books, not only in the US, outside of the US. And I'm working on getting both books translated into French as well because it done so well. I had people requesting for it in French.
Okay, this makes me really happy to hear that. Since we've interviewed, I often wondered how well that did. And sometimes I feel like, okay, if somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, your podcast really helped me, that interview with blah, blah, blah really helped me out with where I was going to get my surgery or whatever. It's like, okay, if I can help one person, my job here is done. But when we know that we've touched more than that, that is very inspiring. And so, that just makes me happy.
It was a good feeling.
So when you wrote that book, I know that illness is very emotional to write about, think about, talk about. What was the most difficult part of writing that book?
The most difficult part for me would have to be processing and reliving that whole experience, especially the part where I lost my breast. Just reliving it and writing it, I cried writing that part. So that part was very, very emotional for me. And then it was the part with me ringing that bell, the thing that give us the false hope that this is over.
Yeah.
That was very emotional for me. I immediately thought of my mother who didn't survive the disease. And I just looked up and was like, Mom, I survived it. I knew I had to do something different than what her and my grandmother did. And, they were obviously some years back. I think it's been like 15 years since my mom passed away. So, yeah, it was very emotional for me in both aspects.
Yeah. So going back to the breast part and losing your breast, I concur with that. That is no joke. It is really difficult because, our breasts, most of us, our breasts are, that's who we are. Like that's
Right.
our identity. That is, I loved my breasts and I had a difficult time with that as well. And I've cried on the podcast with, talking with people about that. So I totally understand that. How are you feeling about that now that we're further along I think it's been a couple of years since we
Yeah, exactly. I feel better about it now. I have accepted, my scars and, the scar tissues and the mess of my breasts. They're not perfect, but I've moved on. It's just I'm past it. Yeah.
It's part of your life. You can think about it and it is what it is, right? We didn't discuss talking about this, but do you ever feel any kind of like what they call survivor's guilt about your mom?
No,
No? Okay.
I don't. I miss her dearly, but I don't feel like survivor's guilt. I just feel like, the doctors did all they could. I know my mom wasn't ready to go. She said she was, but, she accepted it. And so I kind of accepted it too.
Good. And I feel like you've really harnessed that.
Yeah.
And really have done such great stuff in the community that your mom is looking at you like,
Yeah.
go girl. That's awesome. I love that. So you just released a new book called Hope Beyond Hormones. What is that about? I love it. So she's showing it on the screen. Can you show that again, Zainab? Because this will be on YouTube. That is a gorgeous cover. I love that. So tell us all the things about that.
Hope Beyond Hormones is about my life after breast cancer, living with all the side effects and having low estrogen, as a result of me on being on aromatase inhibitors and having a medically induced menopause. So it details all those side effects and how I overcame them and just try to get some sense of normalcy in my life. I just moved on from it. Each chapter, like I said, is about a different side effect, and um, it tells a lot about the things that we go through. They don't tell us about these side effects. When you're diagnosed, like I said, that false sense of hope they give us after ringing a bell. They don't tell us all these things we're going to go through. And this book is 8 chapters of side effects, different side effects. So,
Yeah, so that was my next question is what can readers get out of this? What are you hoping they get out of it?
um, first, I want them to know that their pain is valid. A lot of times, doctors expect us to just move on and tell us it's a part of breast cancer, you know, and honestly, they don't know much outside of cancer. So I want them to find the courage to advocate for themselves and ask for those referrals for, specialists that can help them manage these side effects. You don't have to suffer in silence. We have options, and it's not just listening to your oncologist.
Right. Do you try to get oncologists and other medical providers to read that book? Because that would be really beneficial for them.
Listen, every time I write a book, I give one to my oncologist. She loves it. She was like, "Well, thank you. You didn't say anything bad about me." It's just letting people know that your oncologist is meant to deal with your cancer.
Right.
You know, we're allowed to ask for other specialists. You don't have to just, they'll give me, my oncologist gave me a pain pill, but it wasn't working. I asked to see a neurologist. I seen a rheumatologist, a physical therapist, so we're allowed to advocate for ourselves and ask for those referrals. And
Well,
I encourage them to do so.
yeah, and I feel like any oncologist who has an open mind to learn from patients. I mean, when I went to the breast cancer symposium in San Antonio, have you been to that?
No.
Ah, it's so good. You got to go. I went for the first time in December and I was blown away at that event. And what I was blown away at is the amount of patient advocates like you and me. Like we are patient advocates. And there is this huge recognition that the patient advocates are the ones who they need. Those medical providers need those patient advocates for sort of a bridge for the patients. And so they really treat us really well because they know how valuable we are. And I feel like the medical providers out there who are open to learning from patient advocates is just going to make things even better. And I think it is getting better, but it's just a matter of getting that information out there. And hopefully those medical providers have an open mind enough in their ego, they can set it aside and say, okay, yes, there is more that I can actually learn besides
Yes.
just dealing with the cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
so what does hope mean to you now after everything you've been through?
Um, hope. Hope was an evolving thing for me. In the beginning, hope meant wishing, praying for a cure. But now it's sort of a source of empowerment for me to thrive. So yeah, it just changed from me being diagnosed to where I'm at now. So yeah, it's all about empowerment.
Okay, love that. And then you must pass that to your daughters. How are your daughters in this whole thing now?
Um, they feel more comfortable. They're doing their breast exams daily, like how I did. They say, "Well, I don't want to find out too late." I've lost a few friends, that I had met on here that was their age. So, it really opened their eyes, to let them know that, hey, you're not exempt from it. And they're they're living through it with me. They went through it. It's like they had breast cancer. They went through everything with me. So it made them stronger, and they're ready to take on anything. Them, my sisters, my nieces, I made sure my whole family was equipped with knowledge and resources.
Very good. I love that. Have they been tested? Do they have like,
Yes.
okay.
They both have dense breast tissue.
Okay.
Both of my sisters do as well, so they're on it. I make sure they're on it, and they get their mammograms. Like I got mine every February, so they do theirs for February, my birthday month. So every year, all of theirs fall in February. Sometime in February, they all get their mammograms.
Nice. I love that. And then also, have they been genetically tested?
Yes, they've
Okay.
been genetically tested. We don't carry the BRCA gene
Okay.
at all.
And isn't that interesting? We know that that is like, the majority of the people who get breast cancer don't even have it in their family.
Yeah, and we have a family history,
Yeah.
but three generations, but we still don't carry that gene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. So, looking back now, what message would you give yourself at the start of your journey? And I think that's such a powerful question. Sometimes I ask people who they were before breast cancer. This kind of segues into that. What would you tell yourself?
I think at the beginning, I was sort of passive and let everyone in. And I think I would tell myself it's okay to set boundaries, especially for people and things that drain your energy, you know. And, not to be selfish, but it was paramount for me to set these boundaries to prioritize my recovery. It was a lot of things that drained me, family, friends, and I welcomed them all. And, some people I should have just, set those boundaries. I didn't need people calling me every day, all day. Can I help you? Do you need anything? Just send me a message. And it was just so draining for me. I was miserable and anxious, overwhelmed about everything that was surrounding me. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. I should have set boundaries.
Yeah. And it's really hard for people who are experiencing a friend or a family member going through something like that, because part of them are like, okay, if I don't reach out, they're going to think that I'm just abandoning them. But if I do reach out, am I saying too much? Am I saying the wrong thing? And that's where patient advocates come in to play too, is to help educate people who are experiencing that with someone in their life, things
Right.
that they probably shouldn't say. Um, and also, I'll take, for example, I have a friend who's going through cancer right now for the third time. And I asked her, I said, how do you want people to show up for you? And she goes, oh, I have people, I have, my husband's going to, do this and take me to my appointments. And I have a couple friends who are going to bring me meals. And I said, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you how you want people to show up to you for emotionally. And she's like, I've never had that asked before. Like, no one's ever asked me that before. And I think it's really important for people to ask that of friends like Zainab. Hey, how can I show up for you emotionally? Would you like me to call you every day? Would you like me to give you a couple days to recover from your chemo or your radiation or whatever it is?
Right.
And be honest, like just honesty. And I think that if people just don't assume and they ask those questions. And I think this gal, my friend, was real, she has uterine cancer, and I think she was really grateful that someone actually asked her that. And the only reason I did is because I went through breast cancer. I don't know if I would have said that before breast cancer. So
Right.
honesty, please.
Honesty, yes.
Okay, so as both a survivor and advocate, what do you think the healthcare system still needs to improve when it comes to patient care?
Hmm. Well, with women still being diagnosed under 40, I think they still need to lower this age for mammograms.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the main thing. Women are being diagnosed every day under that age, and even if they just allow them to get a mammogram every 2 years, every 3 years, because they will see something within that time. That's one thing, and I also think that they can improve with um, racial and geographic disparities.
Yes.
For women like me, women of color like me, those things are still happening, and it's I don't think it's fair.
No, it's not. The barriers are astounding.
Exactly.
Right. So we do need to amplify that and educate medical providers about that. I definitely agree with that. And you're not the first person that has told me that. I mean, we did talk about that in our last episode, I believe, but I have had conversations with multiple people about that topic, and it's huge, and we need to keep on talking about it.
Yes.
And do something about it. Let's see. What's a common misconception about breast cancer you would like to challenge or correct?
I would like to challenge or correct that not only older women get breast cancer. As we had already mentioned, women are getting breast cancer in their 20s and 30s. I've lost a few followers that, was diagnosed in their 20s, died in their early 30s or late 30s, from being dismissed or being told that, it's not breast cancer.
Yep.
So I think I would have to say that would be it.
Right. And it's probably good to have something on my resources on the website and really amplify the things that you can say to your medical provider. And I have interviewed so many people who were diagnosed when they were in their 20s and 30s, and some that were pregnant at the time, and their doctor dismissed, minimized, and oh no, that can't be it, it's just hormones, and it turned out to be a very aggressive breast cancer. And so I think you're absolutely right, and I will continue to talk about this and amplify and interview people, and hopefully the message will get through. And our healthcare system in our country is
like everything else.
Not all that great.
Right. But we know that the risks increase because of age, but there's still incidents where women are being diagnosed, in their early 20s and 30s.
Right.
So I would like to challenge that.
So you've heard of Know Your Lemons, yes?
Yes, I'm certified.
Are you a Lemonista too?
Yes.
Go Lemonista, me too. And I just taught a class at our local community college to some HOSA kids, the Health Occupation Students of America. And they were between the ages of 18 and 29. And they loved the class. They got so much out of it. They were both boys and girls, men and women, and they loved it. They learned so much. And I feel like that is the audience I really want to educate, because it's so important for people to know at a very young age.
Exactly. That's my focus. High school, going right into college. As soon as you have breasts, they should know the basics of a breast self-exam. Get in a shower, even if you're not standing in a mirror, get in a shower, just getting familiar with your breasts. I would say as young as middle school, high school, college. I'm working on another project too for those females that age.
Yeah. And I think that Know Your Lemons has a presentation that is specific for middle school and high school, which is great, and focused on HOSA students, which I think is fabulous. I love Know Your Lemons. They're and I got to meet Corinne in person, and a few others like Sabrina and a few others that were there in San Antonio. So it was so neat to be able to meet and hug them. And
Yeah, I seen them there.
Love it.
I've seen them on video. I mean, on Instagram that they were there. I seen you were there too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was fun. Next year, you should go. We should
yeah.
go together.
Mhm.
Okay, so what advice would you give to family members or caregivers supporting someone who was diagnosed with breast cancer? And obviously, I know part of it is read the room. I don't know, ask questions.
Exactly. I would tell them to research their diagnosis, know their diagnosis, um, listen more and talk less. You know, um, respect their privacy. When they want it, and ask them what they need. You know, I got a lot of flowers and T-shirts. The flowers are okay, they're gonna die, but it was nice, coming home. But after a while, I got tired of looking at them, and I didn't want to wear all those T-shirts. Pink is not my color anyway. Breast cancer made me hate it even more. But just talk to them, know their diagnosis, understand it, so you'll know the right questions to ask them or what they need. It's not one size fit all. So everybody won't need the same thing.
I love that. I do like the asking questions and researching. I also got a lot of pink things and the just sort of cliche things. I like pink, but I don't like pink that much. And so that's why even the colors of Test Those Breasts is not like all pink. It's got some green in there. Exactly. I love that. Got some purple in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally, it's so funny. That is probably something where you could ask somebody, say, by the way, if I get you something, do you like pink? Do you not like pink? Is it going to trigger you? Is it going to?
Right.
But
yeah, it
I
wasn't
mean,
a trigger. Go on.
it's nice to get those. It's nice to get things, but I also think that honesty is really important.
Exactly. Pink didn't trigger me, but I just had this excess amount of T-shirts. I just donated them to my oncologist, and she gave them away to women at the hospital.
Good.
I had
Perfect.
so many.
Perfect. I mean, same
Yeah.
thing like, I lost my hair and I wore a lot of beanies, a lot of crocheted hats and things like that. And some of them I actually gave to someone else who was diagnosed, and I still have some because you never know. I
Right.
might get it again and I might have to, you know, hopefully I won't have to go so far as to do chemo, but we'll see about that. So
Right.
I want to talk more about your current book. I know in our last episode that we did together, you read an excerpt, and I would like you to do that again. Do you have a favorite that you can share with us?
I love all of it, but I had marked one to read. Let me see. It's chapter 6, hormone retirement. For most women, menopause arrives naturally around age 51. For me, it came a little earlier, completely uninvited at 49. My transition was neither gradual nor gentle. It was medically induced after a preventative hysterectomy following an ovarian cancer scare. The test results later came back benign, but the surgery had already changed everything. I told myself that not having a menstrual cycle would be a relief. No more headaches, no more monthly mood swings. In exchange, I received a nightly wrestling match with my own body temperature. The nights became my battleground. I would drift off under a cozy blanket only to wake up drenched, as though I had just completed a marathon in my dreams. My neck was soaked, my pillow damp, and no matter how many times I flipped it to the cool side, it could not save me. Eventually, I became an expert at midnight pillowcase changes, my new sport of survival. If there were medals for endurance through night sweats, I would have a shelf full by now. Those nights taught me something important. Sometimes laughter is the only way through. I began to find humor in the absurdity of it all. Instead of complaining, I would roll my eyes, grab a fresh pillowcase, and whisper, "Here we go again." Menopause was not something I had planned for, but it quickly became another chapter in my story of adaptation. While I could not control the biology behind it, I could control how I responded with honesty, curiosity, and just enough humor to stay sane. Navigating life with no estrogen felt like adjusting to a new operating system without an instruction manual. My body and mind were trying to communicate in a language I had not learned yet. The symptoms overlapped with night sweats, insomnia, fatigue, and brain fog, making it difficult to tell what came from menopause and what came from treatment. Still, I began to notice subtle differences. Menopause alone had brought occasional sleepless nights and restless tossing. But once the aromatase inhibitors joined the mix, I felt the shift. My energy plummeted, my mental clarity dimmed, and my nights turned into long, restless hours of overheating and cooling on repeat. Most mornings I woke up groggy, staring at the ceiling and thinking how odd it was that my own biology could betray me. I would get up, pour a glass of cold water, and greet the day with quiet defiance. There were no early morning workouts or coffee rituals to ground me, just moments of stillness and the determination to find my rhythm again.
Wow. I can't tell you how many women have talked about these experiences. And interestingly enough, I didn't have a really terrible time with menopause. So it's hard for me to, obviously understand completely, but it's amazing how many actually could resonate with that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the side effects are similar, but like I said, my menopause was not bad. I just had night sweats. But then when I started taking the aromatase inhibitor and I started getting side effects that are known to happen when you're in menopause, but it wasn't from menopause. It was the aromatase inhibitor, from me having estrogen receptor positive breast cancer.
Right. Gosh, people go through so much.
Yeah.
Women are strong people.
Strong.
They are strong humans. Even, when they are just at their very worst and just bawling and screaming, we're still so strong. And it's so funny when people talk about how women are, the weaker, people
The weaker being,
the weak. Yeah. And they're just not. Like, we go through so much. What the heck? So where can people find your book?
My book is on Amazon. Both of them are on Amazon.
Okay.
And the links are in my bio.
Okay.
If
Good.
you follow me on Zainab _ heir to breast cancer.
I will put that in the show notes. I think that this is really going to resonate with a lot of people, and we will make sure to share and amplify your story and your efforts. And I just am so thrilled to have you back on the show. This has been so fun to, catch up and find out what you've been up to. I mean, I see you on Instagram and I see all the fun things that you've been doing. And I just think it's just so valuable to our community. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with before we disconnect today?
I would like to leave you with, don't forget to do your mammograms, first of all. I mean, your self-breast exams. Schedule those mammograms and buy my book.
Get the book. Get the book. It's so good. Oh my gosh. Anyone who can put that energy out there just to help as many people as possible, that's a lot of value. And so I personally really appreciate it. And okay, well then I really am happy that you were able to join us today. And to my audience, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you next time on the next episode of Test Those Breasts. And Zainab, I'll see you on Instagram.
Exactly. Thanks for having me again.
You bet.
Bye.
Friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Test Those Breasts. I hope you got some great, much needed information that will help you with your journey. As always, I am open to guests to add value to my show, and I'm also open to being a guest on other podcasts where I can add value. So please reach out if you'd like to collaborate. My contact information is in the show notes. And as a reminder, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast will truly help build a bigger audience all over the world. I thank you for your efforts. I look forward to sharing my next episode of Test Those Breasts.